So there are definite benefits to getting older. Hopefully, you become wiser. Hopefully, you learn from your mistakes. Hopefully, those successes and those failures are things that you're willing to help other people grow from. And that's part of why I started We is Greater Than Me, because I'm finding out that a lot of people don't know the basic things about being successful, about being a successful organization, a successful business. There are things that you would think come naturally, but they truly don't. Because in a lot of cases, if you haven't been taught things, then you can't learn them. So, this is why I share the We is Greater Than Me portion of the Still and Strong Collective. And I mentioned something before, like we're talking about building this house or this structure to help us to be successful. But last week when I was talking to you all, I mentioned that later on I was going to talk to you about the difference between a boss and a leader, because I'm finding out the more I work with people, the more I work for people, that a lot of people don't understand the difference. Now, I have been blessed with some amazing bosses, but I've also had my share of not so amazing bosses. I can remember some years ago, before I started working in the school system, um, I worked in daycare. And at one point, my director, who I will honestly tell you was a boss and not a leader, said to me, "If you are so miserable to here, why don't you quit?" And I thought, that was probably the best advice that woman ever gave me. And so I went home during my lunch and I turned in my 2 week notice. And a week later, I was interviewed by the school system I'm working for now. Best thing that ever happened to me. So I'm going to share with you now, for those of you that are in that position where you're the one making the decisions, you're the roof on this house, and maybe you found that you're more of a boss than a leader. Or maybe you don't realize that you've become more of a boss than a leader and you can't figure out why your support structure doesn't seem to be supporting what you're doing. So let me break down to you, in my opinion, okay, in my opinion, from experiences that I've had, what the biggest difference is between a boss and a leader, and why bosses tend to have a disconnect with their support while leaders do not. The difference between a boss and a leader is huge. Because honestly, a lot of people have the title leadership, but not everybody knows how to lead people well. Because, see, bosses manage people, leaders develop people, because they want those people to be the best that they can be. Because if you encourage or you help develop people to be the best that they can be, they can't do anything but make you stronger. There is a huge difference. See, a boss walks into a room and reminds everybody who's in charge. A leader walks into the room and makes everybody feel like they matter, like this organization will not be the same without you. A boss depends on authority. A leader depends on trust. And as we talked before, trust is the foundation of this house, of this organization. A boss is going to say to you, "Do what I said." A leader is going to sit with you and say, "You know what? Let's figure this out together." And if we're honest, most people don't leave jobs because the work is too hard. They leave because the environment becomes too heavy to carry. They get tired of being talked down to, being ignored, being micromanaged, being disrespected, or feeling like they were only valuable when they're being used. That's a boss culture. But leadership culture feels different. You see, real leadership creates safety, it creates communication, it creates trust, it creates a positive morale, because people work differently when they feel valued. Let me say something that some leaders may not like, some bosses may not like. Fear might get compliance for a moment, but it will never create loyalty. You see, people may obey you because they have to, but they only trust you when they want to. That's leadership. And one of the biggest mistakes people make in leadership positions is thinking, if I'm nice, people won't respect me. No, that's not true. You can be kind and still have standards. You can connect people without humiliating them. You can hold people accountable without making them feel small. Strong leadership is not loud leadership. Some of the best leaders are people who listen well, communicate clearly, and know how to make a team feel united instead of divided. That's why in We is Greater Than Me, we talk so much about culture, because culture is not what's written on the wall. Culture is what people feel every day when they walk through your door. Let me put it this way. Our team is like a house. Leadership may be the roof, but the staff are the support beams, and culture is part of that foundation. If leadership becomes unstable, pressure hits everybody underneath. And if people holding things together feel unsupported, eventually the entire structure is going to start to shake. You see, everybody matters, not just the people with the titles. Real leaders understand that. A boss takes credit, a leader shares it. A boss wants control, a leader wants growth. A boss says, stay in your lane. The leader says, let's build together. And the truth is, people may forget your title. They will never forget how you made them feel. So the real question is not, are you the boss? The real question is, when people work around you, do they become better or do they become smaller? Because leadership is not about power. It's about influence. It's about service. It's about creating an environment where people can thrive instead of just survive. That's the heart of We is Greater Than Me. Because when the team wins, everybody on the team wins. So ask yourself, are you a boss or are you a leader? And if your answer isn't what you want it to be, it's not too late to change. Your house is not fallen yet.